How is the economy and politics going to show up post-pandemic? We've had with us Dr. Subramaniam Swami. Let's go directly to him and find out what the situation. Welcome to ANM News, Dr. Swami.
Thank you.
So, post-pandemic, how do you see the economic situation?
Well, pre-pandemic itself, it was pretty bad. It was a declining economy. The growth rates fell from 8% in 2015-16, and every year it declined, and the last quarter before the pandemic was the January 1 to March 31st quarter of 2020, and there it had fallen to 3%, which is even lower than the rate of growth that we achieved during Jawaharlal Nehru's period, which was considered perhaps the poorest growing phase of our history. The policies that we should have followed to negate the effects of the pandemic have not been followed, and consequently I don't see any change. That trend that came from 2015-16 onwards is going to change, and things are going to get better. Policies have to change, and what those policies should be, I have already written in a book called which has been published by Rupa, and that book has got everything. I've written many times letters to the Prime Minister on it, and there's nothing more I can do to persuade people. If they don't want to do it, there's nothing I can do. They'll only learn the hard way.
So what we are predicting at the moment is that the current policy, the financial policy that we are pursuing at the moment, is only going towards a very bleak future.
Yes, no, it is going to lead to a collapse of the economy the way things are going, yes. I don't think there's any escape. It's the same mistakes that were done after the First World War, which led to the Great Depression. And then, having learned a bitter lesson, we formulated new economic policies, and that's how the world recovered. So I think maybe we have to go through that reality check of collapsing.
So in that case, I mean, now we are talking about liberalization. We are talking about Air India just being hived off to a private party. I guess you have very vocal against it, and you are also filing a complaint. So do you think that this is not the way? And what is basically your take on this Air India disinvestment?
Well, I see the issue is this, that I'm not for or against government participation in any activity as long as there is competition. There were already plenty of private airlines in the Indian skies. So why did you have to sell Air India? Just because you made a loss? But Air India was making a profit till 2004. What happened afterwards? That it is making losses. And Ratan Tata has got it, and I believe that the bid was rigged, and there were only two players. There had to be two minimum, because otherwise the matter couldn't have been decided. If there's only one bidder, then it's null and void. So they cooked up somebody, SpiceJet, which is already failing, and made him as a bidder, and he made a sham job. So I mean, everything about the Air India deal is crooked, and therefore I'm going to the courts to challenge it. And Ratan Tata has been doing this kind of thing somewhere. He's not even a genuine Tata. He's an adopted son, or adopted person of an adopted son. So I mean, he doesn't belong to the Tatas. So don't quote this Tatas, which people are doing. It's got nothing to do with Tatas. And he has been a failure in almost every venture in the Tata thing. What about AirAsia, which Tata owns? That is in a flop. What about Vistara? So he's already got two airlines and he's not able to run it. How is he going to run Air India? So just because he has paid cheerleaders who make a lot of noise about it, I think what we have done is wrong. There's no policy. A policy should be what is wrong with the Indian economy. The Indian economy is demand weak, and therefore supplies are in oversupply, and they're just lying without getting sold. So you have to generate demand. How do you generate demand? That is what should be bothering. I have given about 6 steps that should be taken to generate demand, but the Prime Minister has not paid attention to it.
Exactly, but then one big thing that you said right now is that the Air India bid was a big sham. That's
Yes,
what you
it's
mentioned.
sham, and I'll prove it in court.
And you have gone to the court, and you will go to the court, and then you will prove it in the court. So this is not a fair bid that you are mentioning.
It is a rigged bid. It's not a fair bid. It's not a question of fair or unfair, where people genuinely participate in the bid, and then you rig it by by some false information, that sort of thing. It's not that. It's just that the whole structuring of the bid was fake. It was to be restricted to one bogus, that is the SpiceJet owner's bid, which was completely bogus. It was only to meet the regulatory need that there should be 2 bidders at least before it can be legitimized. And Tata got away with murder.
So in such a situation, then we have Indian Railways is the next, and we're also hearing about some of the railway part being also privatized. So what is your...
I don't know about that. Let it happen, then I will give my opinion. Because I can't go by the speculation that this is going to be privatized, that is going to be privatized. I don't think one can go by that.
So do you think that what's your prescription? Do you think that Indian government should run airlines and railways and industries?
There's nothing wrong with the government running an airline, especially since government has a lot of secret operations which it does all over the world. And you can't go on private airlines because the secrecy will go. So the passenger's identity would become known. So there are a great deal of uses. We have used Air India a very large amount a very number of occasions when people have been stranded in Baghdad, people have been stranded in Afghanistan just now, Kabul. So Air India has performed all kinds of services, but you have starved it of funds. You have given all the previous government of Congress gave away all the profitable routes to Arab Airlines, Emirates, and Abu Dhabi's airline. So I think there has been a deliberate policy since 2004 to starve Air India and put it out of business. Air India's real value is in all the hangars that you got in London airport, where now nobody can buy a aero bridge. We had bought it long time ago. Now it's worth each of that is worth $1 billion. So therefore, we are just looking at the scrap value of aeroplanes and making that as the bid, and all the other things which will give you a huge amount of wealth. That is not included in the calculation. So I think the whole thing was rigged to see that Ratan Tata gets the airline.
Coming to a different point, vis-a-vis China, where do you see India today?
Well, you see, China has entered into Indian territory. By Indian territory, I don't mean the disputed Indian territory. In 1993, we entered into an agreement with China that we will try to settle the border disputes peacefully. And till then, we will have the present status quo continue. And so they drew a line of control, which essentially gave Aksai Chin to the control of China and Ladakh to India. Now we find that the Chinese have walked into Ladakh and taken away already 4,000 square kilometers. And the Prime Minister is in denial. He says, in Hindi, he said, "Koi aaya nahi, koi gaya nahi." Even today, no one has come from neither the Prime Minister nor the Defense Minister or any of the government authorities have condemned China for breaking that agreement of 1993 and coming and grabbing Indian territory. I think we are heading for a situation where the Chinese are going to join with Pakistan and Taliban and finish off Kashmir. They will take away Kashmir and leave us, and the Chinese will take away Arunachal, and then we will be looking silly all over the world. We will be no more considered as an alternative to China.
So our China policy, according to you, is not so marked at the moment.
We don't have a China policy. It is all some bureaucrats making silly remarks, that's all. What is the policy? Are we going to war with them or not going to war with them? Are we going to surrender our territory, not surrender? Let them say what is their policy. There is no policy today.
Okay, so what is your prescription now post-pandemic and post this scenario? Because trade with China has come to a standstill at the moment. So post this scenario, how do you look at the future?
Trade may have come to a standstill, but still it is as large as it was before. It hasn't gone down. And we are continuing to sign agreements. We are allowing private companies to do that. And I think at the moment we have no stand. And we have become the laughingstock of the world. That before China, it almost seems as if your knees are knocking. It's not a good sign for us. We are the only country who have the population size to meet with China and deliver them a blow. And the theatre of action is in our favor. It's across the Himalayas, and we have an advantage there. It's not like going to Beijing, or the battle is not in Beijing, but right into a place where we are at a geographical advantage. So if we tomorrow pool our resources together and defeat the Chinese, we will be regarded as a world power, and not as somebody who is brought in and made to sit in the second row or stand in the second row for a photograph.
So at the moment, you feel that we are holding back as far as China is concerned.
We are not holding back. We just don't know what to do. There's no policy. Holding back is a policy. Is that a policy? And then you say that China has aggressed on our territory, but in the position at the present we cannot do anything, so we are going to build our capacity, and then we will do something. Till then we are going to hold on. Let them say that. But there is no policy, there is no China, there is no aggression.
And then lastly, what's the future for economy for young boys and girls who are just coming out of college?
Present policies that Mr. Modi doesn't know in economics, that I have proved a number of times. There's some other outrageous things he says become laughing stock for people like me who have been professors of economics. But I would say this, that the policies that they have been following is all haphazard, ad hoc, and doesn't have a philosophy. What is it that you want to do? You want to satisfy demand, or you want to suppress the supply? You want to increase employment, or you want to decrease employment? So you have to have a set of objectives. Then after that you pick your priorities. Then after that you develop your strategy, and then you find the resources. That is called policy. Here is just one TV broadcast to another. And the present finance minister, Mr. Nirmala Sitharaman, doesn't know a thing because she studied in JNU. There they don't teach anything. They just only tell you how to rabble rouse.
So at the moment we are staring at a very bleak future. Of course, Dr. Swami says he has mentioned steps which can bring India's economy back on rolls. And on China, Dr. Swami is very, very clear in stating that India does not have a policy. Abhijit Nandi Majumdar for ANM News from Kolkata.
আরও খবরের আপডেট পেতে সাবস্ক্রাইব করুন আমাদের ইউটিউব চ্যানেলটি আর বেল আইকনে ক্লিক করুন নোটিফিকেশনস পেতে।